Before dawn breaks over Jerusalem, the streets are quiet in a way that feels unnatural, as if the stones themselves are holding their breath. Pilgrims sleep behind shuttered doors, clutching memories of long roads and fragile hopes. Somewhere beyond the city walls, danger waits patiently, wearing many faces. In this uneasy stillness, a small group of men gathers in prayer, their cloaks plain, their weapons close at hand. They are neither monks in the cloister nor soldiers of a king, yet they carry elements of both. They call themselves the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. History will remember them by a shorter name, heavy with legend and fear, the Knights Templar. They are born not from mystery, but from vulnerability. The roads to the holy places are lined with ambush and blood. Pilgrims who come seeking Christ's footsteps often find only violence. In response, these men make vows as radical as any monks: poverty, chastity, obedience, yet they vow also to fight. It is an unsettling fusion, one that troubles bishops and fascinates kings. Can a man pray the Psalms at dawn and draw a sword by noon without tearing his soul in two? Their headquarters stands on sacred ground, near what is believed to be Solomon's temple, a place already layered with covenant, sacrifice, and longing. The Templars sleep little, eat simply, and train relentlessly. Their rule, shaped by Bernard of Clairvaux, speaks of humility, silence, and discipline, yet it also sanctifies combat undertaken not for gain, but for defense of the helpless. To die in battle is no longer mere tragedy. Under certain conditions, it is understood as witness. As word spreads, recruits arrive from across Europe, sons of nobles, men who have seen too much violence to believe in easy glory. They exchange family names for anonymity, wealth for shared poverty. Two knights ride one horse, a symbol not of romance, but of restraint and dependence. Their white mantles bear a red cross, stark and uncompromising, stitched close to the heart. Few who encounter them understand what they truly are. Fewer still imagine how powerful they will become, or how deeply their fate will unsettle the church and the world. For now, they kneel in the half-light, whispering prayers older than their order, unaware that they stand at the threshold of devotion and doom. As the Templars spread across the Holy Land, their presence alters the rhythm of pilgrimage and war alike. They patrol dangerous passes, escort the vulnerable, and stand where few others will. Their discipline becomes legend. They do not flee. They do not ransom themselves. Retreat is permitted only by command, never by fear. Muslim chroniclers note them with wary respect, recognizing in these warrior monks a resolve unlike ordinary soldiers. The Templars fight not for plunder, but for position, for time, for protection. Back in Europe, their reputation grows with unsettling speed. Donations flow in, land, gold, entire estates, given by nobles seeking salvation, gratitude, or insurance for the soul. The order becomes wealthy while its members remain poor, a paradox that invites admiration and suspicion in equal measure. They build commanderies across Christendom, each one a quiet outpost linking battlefield to monastery, east to west. The church watches carefully. Popes grant privileges, exemption from local authority, the right to collect tithes, freedom to answer only to Rome. These protections are meant to shield the order from interference, yet they also set the Templars apart, making them visible targets. Kings borrow money from them. Princes resent their independence. Envy begins its slow, patient work. Within the order, tension simmers as well. The ideal of holy knighthood is tested daily by bloodshed and loss. Brothers die violently, far from home, buried quickly in foreign soil. Survivors return to prayer with hands still trembling. Confession becomes frequent, necessary. The Psalms speak differently now, of enemies, of refuge, of trust refined by fear. The fall of Jerusalem in 1187 marks a deep wound. The Holy City, defended in part by Templars, slips from Christian control. Shock ripples through Europe. Questions arise about God's favor, about the meaning of sacrifice. The Templars do not dissolve. They fight on, adapting, defending shrinking territories, becoming guardians of a fading frontier. As the Crusader states weaken, the order's military role diminishes, but its financial and administrative power grows. Banking innovations emerge from necessity and trust. Letters of credit replace heavy coin. The Templars become indispensable, and indispensability breeds resentment. A subtle shift occurs. Once seen as servants of Christendom, they are now perceived as something else, an institution too strong, too secretive, too independent. The vows that once inspired awe now invite suspicion. Silence becomes evidence. Discipline becomes conspiracy. The tension tightens, unseen but relentless, as if history itself is preparing an accusation. The final loss of the Holy Land seals the Templars' uncertain future. Acre falls, and with it the last Christian stronghold in the East. The order retreats to Europe, carrying with them relics, records, and memories of a mission that no longer has a battlefield. They are warriors without a war, monks without a cloistered peace. Their purpose, once clear, now feels exposed to interpretation. In France, King Philip IV watches closely. He is deeply in debt, chronically suspicious, and acutely aware of the Templars' wealth and independence. Their exemption from royal authority irritates him. Their secrecy unnerves him. Rumors begin to circulate, whispered claims of strange rituals, of blasphemous oaths, of crosses desecrated in secret. None are substantiated, yet they spread with ease in a world primed to believe the worst of what it cannot see. Pope Clement V hesitates, sensing danger. He knows the Templars' history, their sacrifices, their papal protection. Yet he also knows the power of kings and the fragility of peace between throne and altar. Pressure mounts quietly, then openly. Investigations are proposed. Questions multiply. The silence of the Templars, once a mark of discipline, becomes their vulnerability. On a cold morning in October 1307, the escalation becomes irreversible. At Philip's command, Templars across France are arrested simultaneously. Doors are broken. Brothers are seized from prayer, from sleep, from routine. They are charged with heresy, idolatry, obscenity, crimes designed not merely to punish, but to annihilate credibility. Torture follows swiftly, extracting confessions that contradict one another yet serve their purpose. Shock ripples through Europe. Some believe the accusations. Others doubt. Few dare to resist openly. The order that once rode fearlessly into battle now faces an enemy it cannot strike. Political calculation dressed as moral outrage. The Red Cross becomes a mark of suspicion. The White Mantle, a liability. As trials spread beyond France, outcomes vary. Some rulers protect the Templars. Others comply reluctantly. The unity that once defined the order fragments under pressure. The sense grows that something ancient and disciplined is being dismantled methodically, not by evidence, but by convenience. The escalation is no longer about truth. It is about control, fear, and the rewriting of memory. And the Templars, trained to obey and endure, find themselves standing before judgment armed only with silence and faith. Years pass in prisons and courtrooms where truth bends under strain. Some Templars recant their confessions, insisting they were wrung from pain and terror. Others remain silent, exhausted beyond speech. A few cling to false admissions, believing submission might spare the order. The conflict is no longer external. It has moved inward, testing the meaning of obedience when authority itself appears unjust. Pope Clement V attempts mediation, calling councils, reviewing testimony. He is caught between conscience and coercion. To defend the Templars openly risks schism. To condemn them without proof risks betrayal. His choices are cautious, incremental, heavy with consequence. In the end, he suppresses the order not by declaring it guilty, but by declaring it expedient, a decision that satisfies no one fully and wounds many deeply. For the brothers, the pain is intimate. Men who have spent decades living under rule now face uncertainty without structure. Their vows feel suspended in air. Some are absorbed into other orders. Others fade into obscurity, carrying their identity quietly until death. The sense of collective purpose dissolves, replaced by individual reckonings with God. The deepest conflict lies not in accusations, but in memory. Were the Templars holy warriors or dangerous anomalies? Were they faithful servants undone by politics, or an order corrupted by power? The evidence is tangled, the voice is incomplete. History offers no clean verdict. Yet amid the ruin, something endures. Accounts emerge of Templars who faced execution calmly, reaffirming their faith, forgiving accusers, commending their souls to God. Their deaths lack spectacle. There are no final charges, no banners raised. Only quiet resolve in the face of erasure. The burning of Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master, becomes emblematic. Bound to a stake, he retracts his confession and entrusts judgment to God. Flames consume him as crowds watch in uneasy silence. The order ends not with defeat in battle, but with abandonment to mystery. This deepening conflict leaves behind more questions than answers. It exposes the vulnerability of holiness entangled with power, the danger of silence misunderstood, the cost of serving ideals larger than one's lifespan. The Templars vanish as an institution, but their story refuses to settle, lingering like an unresolved prayer. The climax of the Templar story is not thunderous, but searing in its stillness. It unfolds in moments where individual conscience confronts collective fear. Jacques de Molay's execution crystallizes years of tension into a single, irreversible act. As flames rise, the spectacle intended to erase the order instead fixes it in memory. Power has spoken, yet something quieter answers. With the Grand Master's death, the machinery driving the accusations grinds to a halt. There is no triumphant revelation, no hidden treasure unveiled, no secret doctrine exposed. What remains is absence, a disciplined brotherhood reduced to silence, its legacy suspended between devotion and suspicion. The Church moves on, wounded but intact. Monarchies consolidate power, relieved of an independent force. Europe enters a new phase where centralized authority grows stronger, less tolerant of autonomous spiritual institutions. In this sense, the Templars' fall marks a turning point, signaling the narrowing space between faith and power. Yet the climax resonates not in institutions, but in souls. The image of warrior monks praying under torture, of obedience tested beyond recognition, forces uncomfortable reflection. The Church has canonized saints who died unjustly, and history has condemned rulers who confused expedience with justice. The Templars hover uneasily between these categories, resisting final classification. Their story reaches its peak not because it resolves, but because it refuses to. The red cross burned into memory becomes a symbol open to interpretation, of sacrifice, of warning, of faith lived dangerously close to authority. Myths begin almost immediately, filling the silence with imagined rituals and hidden wisdom. But beneath the legends lies a simpler, harsher truth. Human institutions, even holy ones, can be crushed without ever being fully understood. The climax leaves the listener not with certainty, but with tension sustained across centuries. It invites contemplation rather than conclusion, forcing history to admit its limits. In the ashes of the Templars, the world glimpses both the cost of radical faith and the peril of power unchecked by humility. In the aftermath, Europe absorbs the absence of the Templars gradually. Their lands are redistributed. Their symbols fade from public use. Life continues, reshaped but uninterrupted. Yet the vacuum they leave is palpable. No other order quite replaces their combination of discipline, mobility, and international reach. Something unique has been lost, even if no one agrees precisely what it was. Monastic orders retreat further from political entanglement. Kings grow bolder in asserting authority over church institutions. The memory of the Templars becomes a cautionary tale whispered among clergy and nobility alike. Serve too independently, and you may be crushed. Serve too closely, and you may be compromised. For ordinary believers, the story lingers differently. The idea that men could vow everything, wealth, lineage, life itself, and still be condemned unsettles simple notions of justice. It reinforces an older Christian understanding that faithfulness does not guarantee vindication in history. Sometimes it waits for resurrection. Over time, legends overtake reality. Hidden treasures, secret knowledge, and shadowy survivals captivate imaginations. Yet these myths often obscure the more demanding truth, that the Templars were neither magicians nor conspirators, but men navigating an unprecedented vocation in a violent age. The resolution of their story is quiet dispersion. Individual brothers live out their days anonymously, returning to prayer, labor, or obscurity. Their collective voice is gone, but their witness persists indirectly, in questions asked, in caution exercised, in the Church's wary memory of power entwined with sanctity. History closes the chapter without punctuation, leaving a space rather than a statement. The Knights Templar do not receive a clear verdict. They receive silence, and silence invites reflection. Their resolution is not found in exoneration or condemnation, but in the enduring unease they provoke whenever faith, force, and authority converge too closely. The Knights Templar remain because they disturb us. They challenge easy divisions between holiness and violence, obedience and conscience, devotion and power. Their lives insist that faith can demand everything and still be misunderstood, even destroyed, by the world it seeks to serve. They remind us that vows are not guarantees of success, only of fidelity. The Templars prayed, fought, suffered, and vanished, leaving behind no institution to defend itself, only memories shaped by others. In that vulnerability lies their final testimony. What is given entirely to God cannot always be preserved by history. For modern listeners, their story invites humility. It warns against romanticizing power cloaked in piety, yet also against dismissing sacrifice because it ended in loss. The Templars stand as a mirror, reflecting our own temptations, to control outcomes, to demand visible vindication, to confuse effectiveness with faithfulness. The Church endures not because every servant is protected, but because truth outlasts institutions. The cross itself appeared to fail before it redeemed. In that light, the Templars' end is not alien to Christian memory. It belongs within it. Their mystery is not hidden treasure, but unanswered prayer. And perhaps that is enough. To remember them is not to solve them, but to sit with the tension they embody, trusting that God judges more justly than history ever can. Lord of truth and mercy, receive all who served you in sincerity, and teach us to remain faithful even when the world cannot understand. Amen.